Okay, so Scalefusion is expanding to the UK and Ireland, and I guess as part of that, you've joined the company as channel sales manager for that region. So I guess it would just be good to start maybe with yourself a little bit about your career, up to the point where you've arrived at Scalefusion.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've spent the majority of my career in the cybersecurity space. I've been in the channel now approximately 15 plus years. I've worked with vendors as well as distributors, and main parts of my roles really have been to help adopt and adopt the right technologies right into the growing security, to grow the right technologies to make them secure and effective. So over the years, I've developed a strong understanding of the UK channels, as well as the Irish markets today, and then build and go to market strategies to enable those partners and to enable and scale growth. So the experience of where I have been to where I am today, obviously that gave me an exciting opportunity when this opportunity at Scalefusion came to light.
Yeah. So what was there a particular thing that attracted you, or was it just time to move on, or how did you come to arrive there?
Yeah, so there was a couple of things really. I'd worked within the SaaS platform space for, at that time, coming up to around 6 or 7 years. I'd worked within the identity access management space, UAM space previously, and I'd taken a little bit of time out and was deciding on what my next move was going to be. And then I obviously came across the opportunity at Scalefusion. There was a few things that really attracted me to the role itself. First and foremost, the product itself stood out for me. It was an area that I was very much aware of and had a huge understanding of. But also, when I looked at the platform, the fact that it's so intuitive, it's powerful, and it solves a real challenge around that device and endpoint management, especially when I look at the SMB market, which again is one of my specialities, and also working with the managed service providers. For me, I found it was rare to find a UAM platform that balanced the depth and the features with the ease of use. So obviously, Scalefusion for me gave me the right balance. And from my early conversations with the leaders within the company, I could feel that they were very passionate about the product itself. And obviously, because they were very collaborated and really focused on the long-term success, it just made it an easy decision for me to want to be part of that journey.
Okay, and in terms of the company's sort of decision to expand into UK and Ireland, do you have any idea? Was that just because it was on the roadmap, or was there a particular combination of circumstances they thought it's the right time? Why now for UK and Ireland?
Yeah, sure. So yes, I think it always was. Obviously, they're very big in India and also within the US. Post-COVID, I believe that around 40% of our business was done across Europe. So obviously, I think it was just now the right time to actually come down to that. If we look at the timing and the demand that they foresee coming from the market itself, businesses in the UK and Ireland are under growing pressure to secure the devices, especially, as we know, hybrid and remote working has become the norm. So for them, I think it's a strategic move. And obviously we see this as a high growth region, obviously for the obvious reasons, and the next step in our European expansion.
Okay, and I realise maybe for some people watching, I've put the cart before the horse. So perhaps at this point, it'd just be good to understand a little bit, about the company's portfolio, because obviously we've talked about security in general, but what is it specifically that the company, and what are the solutions they offer?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a great question. So, Scalefusion itself is a unified endpoint management platform, and it helps businesses to manage and secure all types of devices. So whether that's from a phone, from a laptop, from a tablet, your rugged devices and etc. and more. It enables you to have control of that whole device from a single platform. So on the security side, We offer real-time policy and voice enforcement and device monitoring. On top of that, we have Veltar, which is our product, which is part of our advanced security suite, which also includes threat detection and vulnerability management. And then we have the remote troubleshooting and automatic patch management to keep obviously devices secure and up to date. And then on top of that, it's a comprehensive, easy to use platform built to support businesses of all sizes, whether you're SMP to, a large enterprise business. And, we operate in every sector, from whether that be healthcare, whether that be retail, logistics, or, education.
Okay, and in terms of the trends you're seeing in the space you play in, so I guess obviously security is very much front and center, but I guess endpoint management more generally. And are there any particular things that you're seeing, and therefore, how is Scalefusion responding to what it's seeing in the market?
Yeah, so we are seeing more complex endpoint environments due to that remote and hybrid working, making obviously visibility and security tougher. So, targeted attacks on mobile and unmanaged devices are increasing, and compliance demands are obviously getting more strict. So Scalefusion responds by providing that unified endpoint control, protecting threat detection through their Veltar and automated compliance tools. So the remote monitoring management, helping IT teams to stay secure and efficient at scale.
Okay, and maybe just switching the conversation slightly on on a more personal note, you've obviously explained you've got quite a long track record in the IT industry and channel. I guess while I have you, it'd be just good to get your perspective on how you've seen that evolve over time. And I guess, equality and DEI, which, without going into politics too much, there's clearly been it's been a high profile, shall we say, recently. But just what have you seen in the time that you've been there in terms of what it was like when you started? And hopefully we've seen, you've seen some progress in that.
Yeah.
Any thoughts you can share?
Yeah, so obviously when I started back in the channel many years back, the industry was definitely less diverse. For me, it felt a bit like a boys' club, very male dominated. And today, I think, I do see some changes. There's definitely more focus on that inclusion and diversity, and culture is now is coming more into the businesses. So companies, I think, are starting to wake up a bit more about what's important when it comes to their day-to-day work, and, making the better business outcomes by, making sure that there is that diversity within their organization. And of course, there's still work to be done, especially I think getting more diverse leaders. There is more women coming in at those higher levels, but it is still very dominated by the male environment in those senior leads. But there's definitely a lot of optimism, I think, especially from my side, from what I've seen previously to what I see from today.
Yeah, and on that, the sort of leadership, I'll just follow up. I mean, do you think there's a particular reason? Is it because, for example, obviously women may have a break to have a family, and then when they come back, they're sort of, therefore not as far up the ladder as they would have otherwise? Is it as simple as that, or are there other things going on as well, do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the real reason is. I think, as I say, I think we're starting to make some good progress. I think the whole behavior comes from within a company. And I think now that, the younger generation are learning more around AI and getting into cyber security, right? Because obviously we can't get away from it. It's every day in our life. So I think hopefully the younger generation are coming more into this, and I'm really hoping that will pick up more for the younger females. But I think it is down to companies to also promote that kind of culture within organizations, and also create an atmosphere internally. I've been really fortunate in my career that I've worked for companies that have promoted mentoring their staff, whether you're male or female, and working with you to be able to give you the education and the tools you need to progress those career moves. So I'd be, really happy for companies to carry on doing that, and then that will open the door for, more of an inclusive environment to come.
Yeah, just in terms of the things you seem, you obviously said mentoring, but are there any other initiatives you bumped into, whether they're sort of industry ones or company ones that you think have done well, or do you think there's opportunity, obviously, for such projects? And I suppose as well, do you think it's up to the individual organisations, or do you think the overall industry does also have a responsibility? It's important because we know the IT skills shortage, which potentially becomes a
Yeah,
crisis soon.
yeah.
So, recruiting people is important, which I guess means, women and minority groups which are underrepresented. There's an obvious opportunity there to recruit most. So, just I suppose your thoughts as to what
Yeah.
works and what might work in the future, I suppose.
Yeah, like I say, I think it's definitely improved since when I first was in the channel to where I am now. And I have been very fortunate with the people that I've worked with. And obviously, I've always pushed myself to get to where I am today. But I think, there's a lot of elements in this, whether it be from the individual themselves taking their time to find out which direction they want to go in, and then working with the business that they're with to say, look, this is where I'd like to be. How do I get there? What steps do I need to go through? As well as the companies that, are out in the channel adopting that kind of openness within their environment to enable people to go to them and say, I'm here today, but in 5 years, this is my career path. I'd like to go here, and I have worked in a corporate environment where those tools and that availability was there. I used to have weekly with senior managers. That would be my mentorship time, so I could ask them anything that I needed to ask within a safe space, and they would give me their opinions and their advice. And then I've also been part of a group that I founded whilst I was at the company, which was Women in the Workspace, which enabled us, as a leader that I was myself, being able to have the younger generations that were coming in and starting on their first run of the ladder within their career, to be able to come into our safe space as leaders and tell them how we got to where we was, what the pitfalls could be, how to do this, how this works, how that works, etc., and just guide them. Because if you come into any organization, you're a small fish in a big pond. You do your job, but nobody tells you the other bits that sometimes you need on top of what you're existingly doing. So it's nice just to have that kind of community, and you learn from people, right? There's no better way of learning how to get somewhere when you want to progress than learning from somebody that's been there, done that. So I would always say, I think it's very useful and helpful, and I would do the same today. Happy to mentor and guide anybody that's coming into the industry about where I've been, how I got there, the pitfalls of getting there, and then where I am today.
Okay, so maybe just sort of finishing off, perhaps your thoughts first on how you think a more equitable IT industry can develop. I mean, do you think it's a reality that it will eventually arrive, or do you get a little bit depressed at times that it's still not moving fast enough? Or as you say, the younger generation seem to me, at least with the experience of my children, much more inclusive, shall we say. They don't seem to have the baggage, if we can say that, of older generations. But just your thoughts, I suppose, as to how equitable the industry should and could become over time.
Yeah, like I say, I've definitely seen more people that I've worked with for many years, especially ladies. I've seen more ladies getting into senior positions within the channel. I've also seen people that I've worked with previously branching out and starting up their own businesses around culture, and a diversion within the channel, which has been really refreshing to see. I've worked with many women that, whether they be in HR, already in leadership, just like I say, breaking away from a company and starting out on their own, and trying to teach that culture into companies. So that's very, very encouraging to see. And as I said, I still think we have a long way to go, but it's definitely better than where it was. the reality is, I think, if you look now on LinkedIn and you look for roles, most of the roles up there that are being advertised, they're for senior technical people. And I do believe, from a personal point of view, a lot of those would still be roles that are possibly open to more of the male side of the industry rather than the female side. But hopefully there will be more ladies, like I say, that will see. I've really enjoyed being in cybersecurity for the past 13, 14 years. It's a great landscape. It's forever evolving. Technology is forever evolving. So I think it's a really exciting journey to be in. And I think, if I could start my career again back at 15, 16, I certainly would have gone more down this route. But I'm hoping that a few younger generation now, with all the software that's out there and the platforms that are on there for social media, will start engaging and starting to wanting to enjoy the technology and get a bit more involved.
Excellent. And maybe just back to Scalefusion, finally, what are you hoping? Because obviously UK and Ireland's fairly new.
Yeah.
Is there a sort of very rigid sort of game plan, or is it very much up to yourselves and your colleagues as to how you do? And you just, so I suppose your hopes, how you want to see the business develop, and more widely, I guess, Scalefusion, where else it might be headed, I suppose. Yeah, good to understand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as I said, when I came on board, one of the reasons I came on board was to do with their passion and the technology itself. And, looking at the UK market, as well as, the larger EMEA market that I'm also working as part with my colleague. I think we both truly believe that, Scalefusion will become a trusted partner. We are working at the moment with recruiting our distribution channels, so that will help us to break out more into the channel and work with, a variety of partners going forward, but also redefining how the businesses secure their digital futures. So, our vision is to make our technology, which is that endpoint security, effortless and intelligent, which then enables organizations to innovate boldly and grow without compromise. So we want to empower businesses basically to turn cybersecurity from a challenge into a strategic advantage. And I think with the way our platform works and within the passion that we have within the company itself, that gives us the agility and the opportunity for every company that we're going to serve going forward.
Excellent. I mean, it's been lovely to chat, and thanks for sharing the insights, obviously, on Scalefusion and your own sort of journey and thoughts about diversity, inclusion, etc. So maybe whether it's the end of this year or early next year, we can catch up and find out, what progress has been made in both situations. But at least for now, really enjoyed chatting. So thanks, Sal, for your time.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It's been great talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks again.